Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and aired on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. Classes for the St. Rose's Girls RC School are moved to the old Ministry of Education building on Alexandra Street in St. Clair. Archbishop of Port of Spain laments divisions and darkness plaguing Trinidad and Tobago as he prays for healing and a coming together to find solutions. An apology on behalf of the Church for injustices against the First Peoples as Santa Rosa Parish celebrates its feast day. And later, we speak with Monsignor Pereira about the role of the Roman Catholic Church in building society as Trinidad and Tobago celebrates its 62nd anniversary of independence. And now for our top story. As schools get set to reopen on Monday, pupils of the St. Rose's RC Primary School will begin the new term at a new location, the former Ministry of Education's head office at Alexandra Street, St. Clair. Laura Pickford Gordon tells us more in this story.
Pupils of St. Rose's on Henry Street were accommodated at St. Teresa's RC Woodbrook and Rosary Boy Charlotte Street after building housing classes was condemned. Preparation of the three-story former Education Ministry building began in July and work completed this week. Sharon Mangru, Chief Executive Officer of the Catholic Education Board of Management, visited the school yesterday.
I am in the building, in the new building, walking through, and the teachers are very, very excited to be back in the building all together. The building is nice, clean, it's been freshly painted.
The National Parent Teachers Association is concerned about the readiness of St. Joseph Girls, where a sewer system was causing a stench, and Ottawa RC, where students and teachers are sharing space after the main school building was condemned about 2 years ago.
A partial repair was done, but there is a stench, a pungent stench out of that sewer system even now, which needs to be addressed diligently. There is also the Ottawa St. Joseph Roman Catholic Primary. The infant department, I'm told the exit door is non-functional and cannot even be opened. The playground, totally swampy.
Mangro said issues at schools are resolved or being resolved. She was not aware of any schools that could not open on time. I am Laura Pickford Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Heal our land. That's the fervent prayer of His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon as the country celebrates its 62nd anniversary of independence under the dark clouds of escalating crime and violence. In a message to mark the occasion, His Grace acknowledged the blessings bestowed on Trinidad and Tobago, but said there is a darkness pervading and He's urging citizens to pray for God to heal our land.
Father, as we see the blessings that you have given to us as a people, creativity or vibrancy, all the many ways that your love has filled us to overflowing. Let's recognize that your mercy has been with us even when we could not see it as a nation, sparing us from the worst, even in our darkest hour. And we come to you now in a dark hour. Hope is difficult because of crime, because of violence, because of our economy, because so many are hurting. So many are starving. So many are in need of employment and hope. We come to you and ask, oh God, that you heal this land of ours.
His Grace lamented that 62 years after attaining independence, this country remains divided on race, and he urged a coming together to bring healing and hope to Trinidad and Tobago.
We beg you, oh God, that you help us to come together as one people under you, that we will find solutions for this land, that we may become indeed the people of La Trinity. Out of the divergence of our peoples, we may hold to one principle of unity, that we are a people under you, and that as a people, we will work together, shoulder to shoulder, to bring healing and hope to our beloved nation.
Archbishop Gordon has also weighed in on the announcement made by the political leader of the People's National Movement, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, at a recent PNM consultation, that the 3 Columbus ships will be removed from the coat of arms and replaced with the national instrument, the steel pan. Speaking to reporters at last Sunday's Feast of Santa Rosa, His Grace said that while he understands the philosophy behind the decision, he has a concern with the practicality of implementing the change.
We have poor people in this country starving. We have people in communities that are underserved. We have schools that are derelict because they have no money to fix a school. We have institutions failing because they don't have money for this and money for that. So you have to now justify how do you spend, and I mean, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to rebrand the country. And that is the one that is, to me, the most troubling part of all of this. The philosophy, I see it. The practicality, I don't know how you do that.
Addressing those concerns, though, Prime Minister Dr. Rowley on Thursday assured that no additional costs will be incurred, as the proposed changes will be done over time. Dr. Rowley said eminent designer and artist Gillian Bishop has been asked by the government to come up with designs for the new coat of arms, incorporating the steel pan. Once those are submitted, they'll be looked at before a final determination is made. The Prime Minister also assured that the necessary legislation to facilitate the change in the coat of arms will be taken to Parliament. An apology from Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon to the Santa Rosa First Peoples for wrongs committed by the Catholic Church in Trinidad and Tobago. The apology came as he delivered the homily at last Sunday's Feast Day Mass at the Santa Rosa RC Church in the eastern borough of Arima. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims has more in this story.
Looking directly at Chief Ricardo Barrett Hernandez and members of the Santa Rosa First Peoples community seated in the front pews, Archbishop Gordon asked forgiveness on behalf of the local church.
And today, as we approach another great jubilee, because you know next year is the great jubilee, and the point of the jubilee is forgiveness of all debt. And as we approach this great jubilee, I stand as Archbishop of Port of Spain, and I ask forgiveness for the ways in which we as church, we as an institution, have not loved, respected, and cherished the rich heritage that you and your people have brought to this land.
With Independence Day then less than a week away, Archbishop Gordon urged reconciliation within the body of Trinidad and Tobago.
And today, we have to find a way to move forward as a nation. And if we don't, we're going to mash up this place. We will. Rwanda happened really easy, you know. And the level of anger, the level of violence I hear in the speech of people worries me terribly.
The Archbishop ended warning the congregation that the only way forward for the nation was to treat each other with dignity.
We are a nation. We are an independent nation. No Africa, no India, no China, no Syrian, no Lebanese, no Europe is coming to save us from the perils that we are facing. And until we recognize the dignity of the body of Christ, not just in the Eucharist, but in the faces of each other, and until we can treat each other with great dignity, we will continue trying to find solutions to problems that we do not want to face honestly.
I am Raymond Sims for Catholic News Altos.
Prior to the Mass and procession, though, The community of Santa Rosa spent the greater part of Saturday evening preparing for the event. The media team of the parish of Santa Rosa shared an interview with Chief Ricardo Barrett Hernandez and some video and images of the behind-the-scenes preparation. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Members of the community of Santa Rosa gathered at the Roman Catholic Church on Saturday to adorn Our Lady with roses and ensure that she was beautifully decked out for the Feast of Santa Rosa on Sunday. Chief Ricardo Barrett Hernandez noted that the festival, which began with the indigenous people over 200 years ago, has been incorporated into the Catholic feast of Our Lady of Santa Rosa and remains as important today as it was in the past.
In the preparation for this Feast of Santa Rosa, incorporated in that is some of the indigenous elements and traditions. So it is really a merger of some of the cultural traditions of the indigenous peoples and the Catholic tradition. So it is a very special occasion for them because it is the feast that holds the community together.
The sense of community was evident as members worked together to prepare the church. It was a case of all hands on deck to ensure that everything was spotless and beautiful, not just for visitors, but to honor the festival that started more than 200 years ago and make their ancestors proud. Chief Hernandez shared a bit about how the original celebration differed from today.
In the early days, you had the elders of the community going to the forest, cutting the bamboo poles, the bamboo rods, so the flags that you see decorate the park and surroundings. We used to decorate a wider area than what you see at present, all by the dial, by some of the former mayors who contributed to the community. You used to put up flags in their honor at their residence and so on. So that has changed. And you had more indigenous flavor in the early days.
Chief Hernandez expressed the joy at being able to be part of the celebrations to ensure that the culture and traditions left by the indigenous peoples are preserved through their participation in the festival. He takes special pleasure in seeing how the community and families come together in love, fellowship, and friendship. Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
It's time now for us to take a short break, and when we return, we speak with Monsignor Pereira, one of the longest-serving priests in the Archdiocese of Port of Spain. Stay with us. Thanks very much for staying with us. We have on set with us today Monsignor Pereira, one of the longest-serving priests in the Archdiocese of Port of Spain. Monsignor, thanks very much for joining us and welcome to the set.
Thank you.
How are you enjoying retirement?
Well, it's a bit different from active priestly ministry, but I still try to do whatever little I am able to do. Like Wednesday and Friday, I celebrate with my brother John at Mount St. Benedict. Sunday at Tunapuna Church. Once in a blue moon, I do a wedding or funeral, but not as a regular thing.
Yeah. You've been ordained now for 48 years.
48 years.
You were ordained in 1976.
Correct, yes.
Yeah? How has that journey been for you, seeing today compared to back then, 1976, when you were ordained, seeing Trinidad and Tobago then? How has that journey been for you?
The evolution has been really interesting, and in all evolutions, there is a sense that we sometimes have to go back a little in order to go forward some more, so that our people have evolved considerably in many ways, but there's still a long way to go again. And sometimes the evolution is more superficial than integral, deep, you know. People sometimes don't realize how close we are, and we are doing things together in so many ways that sometimes we forget that we are in fact close and really and truly allow ourselves to grapple with some petty differences among us.
You would have been around in the 1970s.
Right,
in fact,
correct.
one of your earlier postings would have been to the Mova Laventil area in 1979.
Yes, 1979.
1979 around.
The 16th of September we started there.
And then, so you'd have experienced that, not as a priest, but then you would have experienced in 1990, the attempted coup in 1990.
Correct. I was working just before going to the seminary in 1970 when the whole events erupted and all of that. But then in 1990, I was actually the priest in cathedral.
Yes.
When just after saying Mass, I saw people moving in a helter-skelter way. And smoke from a distance, I didn't recognize the building. And when I turned on the TV, I thought there was some play going on.
like so many of Trinidad and Tobago. But how have we changed? Have we learned anything as a country? Have we learned anything from 1970, 1990, given where we are now?
Things have changed because of these events, but the lessons that we have to learn are still to be sorted out and unearthed among ourselves. So we're still trying to find that way in which these lessons can become real for us.
What are some of those lessons, you think?
The sense that all of us have a place here. We knew it in the words of our anthem, we knew it in the speeches of people, but we still have to find that inward connectivity that really and truly must be a real part of all that we say and do.
We had a situation where at a consultation very recently, one person saying to another, a lady of African descent, go back to Africa. Do you think that is still something that is pervasive in our country today, that attitude, that sentiment? In
a very, very diminished way. Dr. Eric Williams started the dissociation when he said there's no more Mother Africa, Mother Syria, Mother China, Mother India. And again, his words of 62 years ago are still trying to find roots in our psyche, so that while people have some sense of an African background or an Indian background, more and more people are realizing that we are Trinbagonians. We belong to a culture, a society that is evolving, much younger than the African society in one way, much younger than the Indian society. But our society didn't begin with the Indians and the Africans, so that we have to really adjust ourselves to understanding what happened to the peoples who belong here, who had a civilization here, that were disrupted primarily by the colonial people who came, the European masters, and that put us back a bit. Then we started to build a new society, and the foundation for that new society was very shaky with the disruption and the destruction of the real foundation, which is the first peoples. And now that we are trying to find that connectivity, that connection with our original peoples, and how we came and how we integrated the bounces and bruises, the difficulties, the hiccups in finding a way to live in a manner that would integrate all of us.
Only last Sunday, Archbishop Gordon, and we had it in one of the earlier stories,
yes.
Archbishop Gordon tendered an apology on behalf of the church to the First Peoples. Do you think that's part of the reconciliation that is needed in our country today?
Part of it, and probably not the only part. It was very important for him to do what he did. And an apology is one thing, but an embrace is slightly different. I could apologize to you, but I still have to embrace you. And I still have to understand that the people I'm apologizing to had something. And how do we value what is part of our deepest culture? The Africans, the Hindus, the Indians, the Chinese and others have learned some of that, very subterraneanly, but not overtly enough.
Okay. In 2014, at a Good Friday Mass in San Fernando, you used an acronym, PALE GAS, basically pointing out what we call the 7 deadly sins. But you said there were you called them capital sins, which have been crippling the nation. Those ills, you said then, form the base of the spiritual corruption in the country. Since then, 2014 to now, 10 years later, do you still believe that? Do you still think we still have that?
Well, the acronym PALE GAS was, very, a gift given to me as I was preparing that sermon based on the 7 capital or 7 deadly sins. And I use that acronym because I realized that gas in itself And the whole gas industry had caused a lot of problems in the society. Right. And it is symbolic of the deeper problems which are rooted in the 7 deadly sins, the 7 capital sins, however you want to call it. And trying to reflect on these 7 deadly sins, which with the acronym PALE gas, I try to link the societal decay with the inner human decay, and to try to see that in fact what was going on in our abandoning of the virtues, because maybe I should have preached again about the 7 capital virtues, the main virtues, that would allow ourselves to rise out of that pale gas, out of those 7 deadly sins.
A lot of persons ascribe that spiritual corruption to the older generation. We see a lot of young people now coming into the church. What do you see? What are you hearing from the younger people coming into the church about their space and a place in the church now?
It is a very difficult thing because many of the elders in the church own the church in a way that is not inclusive enough. Okay. And they're threatened by the young people who are committed, dynamic, informed, and spiritually equipped for their age. I mean, the elders would be well equipped after 40, 50 years of, deep reflection. Young people coming in are not as spiritually equipped, but they are equipped significantly. The confirmation programs across our churches have been instilling in our young people those spiritual values. And while after confirmation many of our young people stray, the fact is that they have those deeper values that really and truly will bring them back to their moorings at different stages in life. When they come back, they don't find they welcome the acceptance that they want. And everybody wants to be accepted, everybody wants to be welcomed into communities where they think they belong. And if young people do not think, they think that they belong to the church, but the vibes that they get show that you're not quite welcome here, because we know what to do and we have been doing this.
Almost tolerated rather than included.
Right.
Yes. And as we speak of this inclusivity, Monsignor, there's a raging debate now about the removal of Columbus, the 3 ships, and the inclusion of the steel pan on the National Coat of Arms. What are your thoughts on that?
The steel ban is a deep part of our society. It came, as was said, not from Africa, not from India, not from China. It came from the sense of we as a people experiencing what Naipaul called that being discarded. Mm-hmm. And one of the tremendous realities that were discarded was the empty oil barrels. That after beating the tambu bamboo and the dustbins, people reached a stage where they saw that the steel bands can be transformed into instruments of harmony, instruments of music, of creativity. And that has been a gradual process, because at one time the steel band was the source of the gang warfare.
Yes.
People say, never me
again in a steel band in Port of Spain. Yes.
And that type of thing. But now the steel band has evolved in a way that the rest of the society still has to be evolved. Okay. It still has to evolve. And we know that, like the oil drum, they no longer belong to the refinery. We sense that we no longer belong to Africa or India or China. We now belong to a new civilization, which, like the pan, has to make harmony, has to create music and lift our society. We as a people must come together in that orchestrated way, in that way that we are harmonizing with one another and lifting ourselves, lifting our minds and hearts and spirits. Where the steel band belongs in this new is a very difficult question to answer. And I'm not sure I want to deal with the coat of arms at this time. It's a very serious debate and a very difficult debate. Mm-hmm. society is going through.
Monsignor, on behalf of all of us here at Altos, on behalf of a grateful country and an archdiocese, we want to thank you for the service that you have given to the church over the last 48 years. Yes. And I'm sure you have a lot more. You look forward to 50.
Hopefully yes? 50 at least, and whatever more the Lord has
in store for you. But Monsignor, thanks very much for sharing with us these last
God bless. It's wonderful to be here.
We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel RC Church in Carpichaima hosted a bonfire evening last Friday in what organizers say was an attempt to get the youth of the parish engaged within parish life and to let them know that their voice is important. Roger Sant has more in this story.
The bonfire evening started with an activity, with youths divided into teams to build towers out of spaghetti and marshmallows. Parish media team member Joselina Endoza explains.
You had to do a strategy of building the highest tower, and this really stretched on being a team. It's not only by yourself, but you had to work as a team, and you had to learn different factors of each person and how do we work together. So that was something fun with that activity, learning to be as one, learning to work with others.
Cara Shade said she had fun participating in the activity even though her team did not win. She also enjoyed the bonfire.
The walk, the game, reflecting, and writing the prayer, and then we had like a fun eat and get together after.
Another member of the media team, Jasmine Celestin, explained that the idea of the bonfire was born out of a discussion at the parish ministry about how to get youth involved.
And throughout these conversations, the central theme has been renewness. And we figured, how fitting would it be to host a bonfire? This idea, this symbol of doing away with old patterns. You know, you write your stuff down, you throw it into the bonfire, and it's basically given to God.
It is hoped that coming out of the initiative, the youth in the parish will make a commitment to youth ministry, attend the Mass regularly, and recommit themselves to their faith.
Youths just need to be involved. They need to feel like they have a space. They need to feel like they have a voice within the parish. And that's exactly why we hosted the bonfire event, where we allowed youths to share their thoughts and ideas and sing and praise in a place that felt safe, comfortable, nurturing.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
And Catholic News editor Raymond Sims gives us an insight in this week's edition of the Catholic News.
In this week's edition, Abbot John Pereira writes on the contributions made to the nation by the Benedictine monks, and Father Stefan Alexander of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice urges that we try a little harder to bring Trinbago out of its dark hour. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
And that's a wrap for our show here this evening. Remember to pray, read your Bible, and know your faith. On behalf of Altos, we wish all citizens of this beautiful twin-island republic a happy 62nd anniversary of independence. We leave you with some images from the Roman Catholic churches decked out for independence and a sound clip from this country's first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, that he delivered on August 31st, 1962, the first day of our country's independence.
Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights. Democracy means freedom of worship for all and the subordination of the rights of any one race to the overriding right of the human race. Democracy means freedom of expression and assembly and organization. All that is democracy. All that is our democracy, to which I call upon all citizens to dedicate themselves on this our Independence Day. This is what I meant when I gave the nation as its slogan for all time: discipline, production, tolerance. Our national flag belongs to all of us. Our national coat of arms with our national birds inscribed therein is the sacred trust of all our citizens. So it is today. Please, I urge you, let it always be so. Let us always be able to say with the psalmist, behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.